If I say to go do something or go buy something, what do I always say?
How much it costs?
No.
He is the guy. He's going to be the guy. And he's going to be the end all be all. And it's going to be his way or the highway.
I don't take myself that serious. They take me a lot more serious than I take myself. When you empower somebody to go do something, don't micromanage them to the point where you might as well just done it yourself. Let's talk about management styles and how they impact your business. What do you think about that?
Well, we differ a lot.
There's two. There's traditional and there's modern.
I would definitely fall, into the modern category. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. But I would say you fall, in my opinion, into a little more traditional.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, let's go into that. So, you own a business, right? And now you got to manage it. And there's 1,000 different ways that you can manage it. And there's 1,000 different styles that you can manage it, right? And we're going to go over a few of those. Let's start traditional versus modern. And what are we talking about when we just say that?
Okay, so let's get right into it. So, traditional is going to be the guy who goes, you do this or you're out of here. And that's him. In a nutshell. And me, I'm a little bit more passive.
It's more, it'll be all right. You'll be okay.
Listen, I'm empathetic to the people who are around me because I care about them because they are the backbone.
I do care about them.
I know you do, but I'm being a little facetious. But the people are the backbone of the company, right? They're the people.
100%.
They are the driving wheel, right? So how you manage them is super, super important. You can, be over authoritarian and people just don't respond to that well. You can be too lax and too modern, we'll call it, and people don't really respond well to that. Some people want precise direction. Don't beat around the bush. You tell me what to do and how you want it done, and I'm going to do it, right? While the other guy over here wants you to, for lack of better words, pat him on the butt, tell him you've done a good job, right? And there's some in-betweens in that too, right? I would say I fall more into the modern category, which would be I like to get to know people. I like to, again, for lack of better words, empower them and try to get on their level and, support them in a little bit more of a fatherly role, I would say. And for me, that works very well. For some people, it just does not work. And that's why business is so interesting. And, the dynamic of communication is such a crazy topic to go down, right? Because there's so many ways people manage and you could manage one way and a guy doesn't receive it he doesn't like to receive it that way. And then you have to be, to be a manager, you do have to be in my opinion, some bit dynamic in itself, because if you're too traditional or authoritarian and you're dealing with somebody who doesn't receive that kind of information very well, then that could be a very, very key integral person, right? That you need, right? For one reason or another. He may be the best sales guy, right? But he doesn't respond well to authoritative direction, right? In that case, you have to be somewhat of a dynamic chameleon and be able to deal with that individual, maybe a little softer. You could still have your authoritarian touch or your modern touch, vice versa, and deal with the individual and how they like to be dealt with. And I think in my pea brain that's the player, right, that wins. I think that you can't be too modern. You can't be too traditional or authoritarian.
I'm a transitionalist.
Oh, here we go. Let me hear this.
I'm in between, baby.
I am too, to some degree.
I think the thing that's got me over time is when we bring somebody on
Shark.
and
Shark.
we mean. I think my issue is I've been doing this for such a long period of time is I'm a little bit hardened. So
Yeah.
I want to get to my goal as fast as I can. And when somebody's not putting forth the effort that I'm paying really good money, I need to either, I don't feel like I have time for the level of pace I want to move at to go in there and hold somebody's hand. Versus you do a little bit better job at that, because I'm going in there, let's just move on, let's get a new person. You're like, hey, slow down a little bit. And there's a time and place for that, and you kind of offset because I wouldn't probably have near as many employees if I operated the way I would normally probably operate. Yeah. But I think, be careful with being a manager for a long period of time, and you're going to go through a lot of shit. And just be careful. It can harden you to the point of no return. And,
I'd say what's interesting is that when I first went on, well, I guess my second business venture, but you'd given me some words at the beginning, and I know we've talked about this in the past, but I was probably even a further extreme sympathetic, I would say. And he's like, that's going to change. That's who it's change. Right. And I was like, yeah, right. I was like, man, I can't change that. That's just me. What the reality of it is very true. Right. I would say is more of the sympathetic of the two between you and I, that I have gotten hardened through the years.
Yeah, you're going to get hardened.
And, what I was empathetic or sympathetic for, in the past, is, if it was over here and being the far end, now it's creeped its way and, say authoritarian and sympathetic, we'll call it, right? And now I'm somewhere probably in the middle, right? And that just happens over time, and it's, it's I would say it's unfortunate, but it's necessary.
Well, let's talk about one thing real quick. Let's talk about what is the role of leadership and what being a leader means. You don't have to own a business to be a leader. You can have a leadership position in that business. We have a bunch of leaders in our company, and what I've learned over a period of time is they all have a little bit of different management practices, and a lot of it is their personality. If a guy's a little bit more introvert than this guy, he's a little bit more extrovert. If this guy, and how they grew up, their background, depends on what, you'd almost like walk into any business, in my opinion, and you're like, you walk in there, you're like, man, that guy he doesn't have outgoing personality. He's more of an introvert. To be honest with you, he's just a weirdo, and he's running a multi-million-dollar business. You're like, how in the hell does that guy manage this amount of people? But then you start diving in there, and he's really analytical, and he manages everything with really good factual facts. He doesn't shoot from the hip, and that's his management practice. But what is being a leader? Let's go back to that. For me, let me give you the definition of a leader. It's being able to motivate somebody that you're underpaying and without a clear vision. In entrepreneurship, you have a vision of where you want to go, but it's a little bit foggy. Like the vision's there, but you don't know how you're going to get there, and you're going to have to be able to motivate somebody, and they're going to have to motivate them through all these mistakes you're about to make in your entrepreneurship world, in your career, because you're going to make a lot of them, and you cannot have your core people quit you. So you're going to have to lead them to your vision, knowing that you're going to either overpay them, you're going to have to cut back their pay, you're going to have to change up titles. You know what I mean?
We've done it all, I think.
And it's just, you're going to have to build their trust that you're always going to have their, and I feel like you and I do this a lot. If you treat us with respect and you show up like we do, we're going to do everything in our power to take care of you.
Yeah.
Now, have we been burned? Yes. Will you be burned if you're watching this? Yes, you will be burned. Will you be putting a lot of hours into somebody that you think is going to be great and they're going to quit you with no notice? Yes. Are you?
I want to hear anybody who's watching this has been burned. These are usually the fun ones to talk about, and we'll share a couple of them with you.
Are you going to go snipe talent and you're going to be like, I'm not going to have to lead this guy to our vision because he already knows, and he comes out here and he's end up being a dud?
Yeah, well, I want
Done that too.
I know, and I want to hear if you guys that are watching have been burned in a business deal or by an employee or by a manager or whatnot. Comment. I want to hear this. You know, I would say, I've been burned a lot of times in the last 6 years. You know, from one of my key guys to literally walking in and saying in the middle of the meeting, just saying, "I quit." You know what I mean? And you're like, and then they goes to your competitor right next door, right? I mean, there's a bunch of them, that we've been burned so many different times.
And I think being a good leader is being consistent. If you walk into our office right now, let's test this. What is one thing if I say to go do something or go buy something, what do I always say?
Sorry, say it again.
Go buy a truck. Go clean the shop. Go buy anything or manage anything. What do I say?
How much it cost?
No. I say, I want the best. I drive the best truck. I want the best office. I want the best truck.
Yeah.
If anybody works around me, they always know, well, he's going to get the best.
Yeah.
And that's my consistency I had there. They also know I'm willing to listen to anybody,
And that brings me to, we're talking about management and leadership and the difference between like an autocratic and a transformational leader. So let's talk about that in depth, right? An autocratic leader is somebody who is a founder or maybe a CEO, or it could just be that particular person that's above you that he goes on all of his ideas, that he is the one with all the best of the ideas, and that's how he is a leader. He's the one that creates them. He's the one that spends the time figuring them out. He doesn't care about your idea. He is the guy. He's going to be the guy. He's going to be the end all be all, and it's going to be his way or the highway. And I'm sure you guys that are watching know that that's generally not the best approach.
No, that's when you stay small and you don't scale.
Yeah. So the flip side to that is your transformational leadership guy. And this is where I say I fall in line, and I know you do too. This is a person that, like me, has an open door policy. This is the easiest way to understand. And this is what's worked for me. I'm not the same.
It works for every company. The autocratic guy is your small mom and pop business.
Yeah. Again, I agree.
There's always
saying there isn't somebody out there.
There's not. Even Elon has the best people around him that get him.
I agree with you 100%. Agree.
Right? It's if you want to stay small, you manage that way. If you want to grow, this is the way you're going to manage.
Yeah, and it's the complete opposite is the transformational person, right? The transformational leader, and I would say that is me, and that is somebody that knows that your idea isn't always the best. Somebody that is accepting of criticism. Somebody that has, like mine, is an open door policy. That's why I tell everybody that comes in my little sphere that is in our control is my door is open. I don't care if you're a toilet driver. I don't care if you're the guy that's cleaning the toilets at the office, the yard guy, all the way up to the CFO. It doesn't matter. My ideas are not always the best ideas. I can promise you that the majority of the good ideas that we've had over the years did not come from me. So if you don't accept that piece and know that you are not the end all be all, you're falling behind to somebody who is a leader like Josh and I.
You want to empower your employees.
Who can accept that. You have to empower people. You have to make sure that, that if you do have an idea or they have an idea, you can't take it for face value, whether it's yours or theirs. There still needs to be a process, right? We call it poking holes, right? You have a low-level guy comes up. He's like, I got this great idea, right? And let me share it with you. You have time? Sure. Let me hear about it, right? You listen to him out. So you're like, man, that's a great idea. But I don't just go from there and go, woohoo, here we go, right? Make the change now. No, you don't do that, right? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you take that idea, you have your trusted group of people, and you throw that, what we call it, throw it on the wall, right? And we sit in a room and we think about all the problems with that particular idea, what it could cause. And if the issues outweigh the good, then thank you for bringing your idea. here's why it didn't work out. You don't just not do it and don't talk to him anymore. You explain to him why it didn't work, right? Here's the problems of that idea. Here's the reason why we can't do it, right? Thank you for bringing that up. And, or the other vice versa is we throw it on the wall and we're trying to poke holes through it, and we may find one hole, right? But we might find a patch to that hole too at the same time. And the next thing you know, you have something that could potentially, save time, save money, a better process, whatever it may be, that came from a low-level guy that it came through you, through the manager or the leader, however you want to say it, and you tested it to the best of your abilities, and then you ran with it, and it wasn't your idea. And it doesn't mean it's not good.
Well, here's another thing too. If you empower your employees and they know you're going to collaborate with them and listen, right? We're going through a deal right now. We have our COO. He picked out software, right? It was his idea to go with that software. We did the research and we empowered him to make that decision, and we went with his choice. Well, since we empowered him, and he's taken severe ownership of this implementation. Severe. This guy is putting crazy hours, and we are thankful. So sometimes when you empower people to make decisions, they take ownership of those decisions. And if it's always your idea and always your decision, they're just going to go through the motions most of the time.
That's a wonderful point. I think that hits a nail on the head of the being a transformative leader, and taking other people's ideas and giving and empowering them to come up with process changes and different things. It really just changes the dynamic, because then they own it.
But I also think you have to be, I think there's a position for both. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like, you need to be able to, there's certain times in your business you're just gonna be like, you're gonna do it my way or the highway, right?
I said we're going with that.
And there's certain times that you're like, man, I'm kind of stuck. I'm gonna listen to these ideas. You know what I mean? I'm gonna listen to these technicians. I'm gonna listen to this guy that walks in there. But at the end of the day, you need to develop a culture, a management culture, and management style where people feel comfortable with you to come to talk to you.
Yeah.
If people do not, I don't take myself that serious. I sometimes forget that I have a lot of employees now, and they take me a lot more serious than I take myself. You know what I mean? So I think that, develop a management style that, people feel comfortable to talk to you. You don't have that arrogantness and barrier to the point where people will not even come up and tell you their ideas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't.
And then don't, when you empower somebody to go do something, don't micromanage them to the point where you might as well just dumb it yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a whole other section of it.
Is micromanagement, or you're gonna.
We've all heard of it. Everybody that has ever been working anywhere understands what a micromanager is, right? It's somebody that's breathing down your neck, is telling you how to do every little tiny freaking detail, and nobody likes it, and it's terrible.
And I don't like doing that. I'd rather hand off an idea to somebody and let them take them and I might help them, re-guide them and stay in their lane, but hey, we're not going that far right, we're not going that far left. You know what I mean? Stay in your lane, go take ownership of this, and empower them to go to move forward with the idea. But let's talk about something on that. When you micromanage, there's only so many things you can manage at once. And we just got done performing a podcast with a gentleman that's wanting to scale his business just like Eric and I are. We cannot micromanage every decision in our business. If we did, we would always be a small business. We have to empower our executive team and our management team. We have to empower them with our vision so they can go help us implement it, right? And we don't make every decision. There's a lot of decisions every day, all day, that are made, systematic changes within this company that I don't know about.
Yeah, but I think to the piece of that you forgot that is important. Everything you say is correct, but I think that we empower them to make decisions, but we give them parameters, right? So don't be fool and just let them do. You know what I mean? You got to give them a basic set of parameters, right? Here's the minimum you can sell this for, or hey, I need to keep at least this being on stock, right? But if you think we need to keep twice as much of that because we're coming into the busy season, right? That's the kind of the standard procedure you need to have, and then you need to empower. Again, this is in my opinion, but you need to empower them to make decisions based on a singular set of basic rules, right? Basic guidelines.
What do I always? I'm not a screamer, yeller. I don't think Eric's ever heard me yell at any employee ever. I don't think anybody's ever heard me yell at an employee.
Not an employee, no.
You know, I don't even think I've yelled at any partner.
No.
But I think the biggest thing is, what do I always tell everybody? And this is me empowering people. What do I always say? I want you to make mistakes within my company. I need you to make mistakes because you're going to be trying new ideas, and the more ideas that we can try, and the more that we can be smart enough to not do those again, and we collaborate, we get around the round table, and we tried that, and the faster we're filtering through all this stuff, the faster you can filter through all this stuff, and start picking the good ideas and maneuvering and making them even better, the faster you can grow, the more efficient you're going to become, the more effective you're going to become, the better culture you're going to have, and then when people understand that you listen. And they understand that you're not going to go just get down their throat when they make a mistake. Sometimes those mistakes are costly. They cost you a lot of money. You might lose a customer. It might be a transaction, might lose a relationship, right? The faster you can overcome that and put systems in place, the better off you're going to be. The faster you're going to have more of a sound business. What kills companies is exactly what you said. They empower these people to make these ideas with no parameters, and then they go ram it. They say, hey, go make a decision, and then they micromanage them. Oh, by the way, go make a decision, and then they go get down their throat when they make a wrong one, because they're going to make wrong decisions, right? Sure, yeah. And then they go make a decision, and it's a wrong one, so you never empower them another time to go make more decisions.
They're not going to make another decision because you just jammed it down their throat when they made one.
Exactly. Or what's even worse in a lot of companies I've been in, and it's horrible in corporate culture. Horrible in corporate culture. I hate corporate culture for that reason.
We should do a whole podcast on corporate culture.
I hated corporate culture. I hated it, and I always said I did not want to run. This is not a corporate culture here. No, we want to be open and direct and honest. Yeah. Right. But what I hate it is when somebody comes with a good idea. It might be you. It might be a technician. It might be whomever. Give them freaking gratitude. Give them some accolades. When you're around the round table, don't just say, that was my idea. Say, Eric, this was Eric's idea, and this is a freaking killer. Yeah. Like, let them know. Give them some
kudos.
Yeah, kudos. Give them a high five. Let your team know whose idea that was. Yeah. People like that stuff. I liked it when I have a lot of bad ideas. Every once in a while, I have a good one. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's nice to be recognized, even from the top down. You know, so when somebody does make a good decision, and it's their idea, let them know. Let your team know. Don't take ownership of that like corporate world does. Yeah. Corporate world's horrible about that.
And they take forever, too. You can make a decision. One guy can make a decision and like, yeah, this is going to be great. And it goes up the chain. And the next guy's like, yeah. And 6 months later, yeah, it's great. 6 months later, yeah, it's great. 6 months later, it's implemented. It's been a year and a half. And a guy like me, we got in a round table. We made that decision. We changed it the next day because it was a damn right decision. You know,
I went to a conference the other day, and this guy said this, and I text myself, and it says, here's how he manages. This is how he manages his business. And he has one of the largest business development businesses in the world. And I got lucky enough to get invited to this deal, and he says this is how he manages, and this is how he grows his businesses so fast. He tests, he fails, he learns, improves, and he re-enters. He
as fast as he can.
He tests, he fails, he learns, he improves, and then he re-enters. He re-enters to the next objective, and then he just does that the same thing. But what he's done is he empowered his employees to use that same method.
So everybody's doing it.
So everybody's like boom, 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 boom. Yep. But you got to be humble enough to know that, hey, when I failed, I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm going to re-enter a different way, and I'm going to test. I'm going to fail, because in his mind, every idea is not going to be 100% success, you know? And then his management style is he stabilizes. The stabilizer for money is generosity.
Yeah.
which I thought that was a pretty good, that's another,
Yeah, we had a depth conversation.
yeah, but
the other day.
when you are trying to learn how to manage people, and let me tell you something, it's a lot easier to manage people when you have time to make decisions. When you're very first starting, you're watching this and you just don't got going. You hire your first employee, right? And they start messing up, your cash flow's tight, and it costs you money. I'm just telling you, right, that will be the hardest time in your entire life, is to learn how to manage your temper, your emotions, your, oh shit, look on your face, I might be bankrupt. You just wrecked my lawnmower, you rolled my truck, and I don't know how I'm going to pay you now because that deductible took all of our cash flow. Being able to have a poker face and not let your emotions get tied up in your decision making. I'm just telling you, as a small business, when you very first start and you very first hire your first employees and you're growing and you're small, you're making all different types of decisions on a rapid pace, and not every one of them's going to be right. Just keep on making decisions. Be humble enough to recognize when it's a bad one. Be smart enough to recognize when it's a good one, and make them as fast as you can. Do not, Eric, don't take this the wrong way, but Eric was like the world's worst when he first started working with me. He wanted to make the perfect decision every time. And I loved it because in order to do that, he would study things and procrastinate on things and to implement something because he didn't think it was perfect, or he didn't go through every little scenario to test it. And my theory was different, a little bit different. My theory is do the same research you're doing, but I'm just telling you right now, no matter what I did, you're going to implement.
It's still got to be somebody fucked up.
Yeah. And now he's starting, Eric's over time.
Yeah.
He'll do his research. He doesn't go anything blind, right? He does his research. He puts in the time. He calls people. He asks for advice, and then he implements. Yeah. And then it's going to fail. It's never going to be 100% good.
Yeah, and I think everybody probably will go through that if you're in the same stage of life as me. When you go in there and you want to be perfect, right? And I don't know if anybody around you is a perfectionist or you're a perfectionist, but sometimes that happens, and you can get caught in that rat wheel, and it will really, really slow you down. And once you learn that, just do it. Make the decision. Do the best job you can. Make the decision, and then figure out the problems as they come, because they're going to come whether you think you got it perfect or you got it about 3/4, right? Or the best that you think you can do. So the problems are going to come. You got to learn how to manage and fix them and go from there. So last thing I want to talk about, and to tie this all together, I mentioned it at the beginning, but in my opinion, the best managers are very, very high in emotional intelligence. Okay? Do you know what emotional intelligence is?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let me give you my perspective, right? Emotional intelligence is somebody that can read the situation. They can do something a certain way or speak to somebody a certain way and figure out in that conversation that may not be the right way to speak to somebody. Or they can take themselves down a notch. Let's say you're just a super prim and proper individual, and you're going to a meeting with a bunch of hillbillies. You're trying to buy their business. We'll put it plain and simple like that. Emotional intelligence is being able to sit down in that room and be able to have that conversation in their, maybe not exactly in the way they would talk, but bring yourself into whatever level that individual. Read the room, right?
Yeah.
Understand the situation that you're in and be able to act on it. And it's not as easy as people, think. Some people have it. Some people have it really good and can do it very well naturally. Some people have to learn it. I was a learn it guy.
I feel like that's one of my strong suits.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree.
I can go in a room and I can read the room and I can figure out who the decision. That's just what I do. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's very, very, very critical to managing. Like,
it's the most critical thing. One of the most, if not the most critical things. If you cannot read, if you don't have enough emotional intelligence, to Eric's point, managing, I'll give you an example. This is a perfect example because we have a lot of technicians. If it's 110 degrees and a guy's out cleaning toilets and he had a hose break and he had a rough day, on top of what everything's going off in real life at home, right? And he made a mistake. You have to have enough emotional intelligence that today's probably not the day for me to go ram down his throat when he gets back after a 12-hour shift and how shitty he did today. Let's have that conversation tomorrow, or at the end of the week, or maybe after he did something good. But today's not the day.
Hi, I mean, that's it. That is it in a nutshell. And you can take that in lots of perspectives, right? But, being able to understand the situation that you're coming into and be able to play off of that situation, you can still be a traditional leader, or you can be a more of a modern leader, but you still got to understand the individual that you're dealing with, right? In the setting that you're in.
Yeah, just don't take a preacher to a strip club. It's stupid.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If you're don't talk about a strip club if you're selling to a church. I mean, be situational / emotionally in tune with your environment.
Yeah.
And what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't mean you have to change your personality. It doesn't mean that you have to change the way you talk. It doesn't mean that you have to change your bad habits. But don't take I like to drink. I like to have a drink in there. Eric does not. I'm not going to bring a bottle of champagne and orange juice and drink mimosas while I'm watching my sermon on Sundays. That's emotional intelligence with a situational awareness, right? I'm just not going to do it right then and there. That doesn't mean I'm hiding it. That doesn't mean if you ask me, I'm going to lie to you. But be smart about it, and if you can use this in 1,000 different. And sometimes people take, to Eric's point, sometimes you're only born with so many natural God-given skill sets and talents, right? Mine is sales and talking to people, and I think I have really good situational / emotional intelligence. Eric's he likes to dissect weird shit. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know where you go with that.
Like, he'll sit there and look at something and I might just fucking implement it. And he's more, let's slow it down a little bit and let's figure this out, then implement. We need, for him and I, it works, and it's a good combination for our business model.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Because he's pushing me to study faster.
And some people, let me tell you something. Some people, you're going to learn that they can't control their emotions under high stress environments. That's the vast majority of people. If you walk into my office at any given time, you will never know how stressed out I am.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Like, I will be like, damn, I just lost an $8 million contract.
Hell, I know.
$4 million over budget on a multifamily. My wife wants to go on vacation next week. Woohoo! You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I want to buy out my partners, and I just bought them out and lost the contract a week later. You know what I mean? So, like, you have to control your emotions in your business.
Yeah.
If you wear your emotions on everything you do, you're going to fail. That's just a fact. I'm not saying don't have emotion. I'm not saying be dry. I'm not saying don't get pumped up. I like getting pumped up. I can bring a guy in and get pumped up because I am passionate about what I do. I love what I do. It's real estate, porta potties, and mowing lawns. It's not very exciting. You know what I mean? But I love it. And since I love it and I developed that passion, I'm going to freaking sell.
It flows out to everybody else.
Yes.
See it.
Yes. And I can,
it's like your energy.
It's the company energy. And let's finish this podcast, this segment, with one last thing. It is the culture of your business. How you manage is the types of culture and the type of business you're going to be built. Our culture is very fun and I would say modern. We have a basketball court, an outdoor kitchen, and a fire pit. And I see employees out there shooting baskets on their lunch break. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We cook out for our employees. We're not uptight people. You know what I mean? We have employees that, cook their own food at our office all the time. Yeah. So our culture and our business is kind of like the way we like to live. Is let's have fun, but work hard.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And we make sure to make that clear with everybody who walks in our door.
Let's have tough conversations, but honest ones too.
Yep.
Right? Let's don't skew the facts to make you look better. Yep. If it's me, let's have an open door policy where you can be direct and honest with me and say, hey, look, I don't like the way what you said to me and how you said that. Perfect. Now I know. I'm sorry the way I maybe talked to you. I was, I'm not going to talk to you that way. I have enough emotional intelligence. He's going to crumble or she's going to crumble if I do that again. So how you manage your business and the styles of management you implement from top, or if you're in a management position, is going to be how your team reacts. It's going to be how your team is empowered or not empowered. It's going to be how that your team communicates with you. If they're afraid to tell you and they're sugarcoating everything, if they're going to be direct with you, it's going to be the success of your business.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying there's a perfect formula. So don't change your personalities.
Lots of ways to do it.
Lots of ways. I will never forget. And we'll finish it with this. I walked into a business, and I don't even know the name of the business, but it was in West Texas. And this guy looked like he was worth about $2. And he was the most down-to-earth guy. I mean, just super nice. And he was walking me around this plant, introduced me to the procurement guy or whatever the guy was making the decisions. And he walked off and said thank you. And, he was very knowledgeable about the business. I thought he was just an employee who's been there forever. Right? Talked to the procurement guy, and I did notice I had enough situational awareness. I noticed people were kind of, parting ways, but not really. It wasn't like the barrier was so knocked down for him, and people were like, he's just normal. You could tell he was on the floor all the time and involved.
Yeah.
He ended up being the owner of this business. And I'm not talking about small business. I'm talking about business that had like over 1,000 employees in this one location. He had like 20 locations.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the kind of manager I want to be.
Yeah.
Where people feel comfortable to walk up to you. They know you're going to be consistent, honest, and fair. And you don't have to tell everybody that you own the business. We never tell anybody we own the business.
Very rarely.
I don't even it makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So our management style is different from yours if you're watching, but comment on we love to see your comments, guys. And girls, and ladies, we love to see your comments.
Yep. So if you got a lot out of this, we're thankful and glad you're watching. Make sure you like, make sure you share, and we'll see you the next time.